I've been massively interested in roller coasters ever since I overcame my fear of them 5 or 6 years ago. I've ridden a total of 74 coasters so far, including many held in high regard by the coaster community. I thought it would be fun to try my hand at a coaster review. What better ride to start out with than Iron Gwazi? Due to its location, Busch Gardens, Tampa, serving as my home park, I have been following this ride from its announcement in 2018 through to its opening this year. This month, I finally got the opportunity to ride it. Did it live up to the hype I built over those 4 years? Let's find out. Before I discuss my thoughts on this ride, let's go through the excitement and letdown I experienced waiting for this coaster. I never rode the original Gwazi, as it had closed many years before I overcame my fear of roller coasters. As I began to visit the park more, it was always weird and kinda sad to see this massive wooden structure looming there, never to be ridden again. Surely, there must be some reason it was left standing, right? As I began to learn more about roller coasters in 2018, I stumbled across a manufacturer known as Rocky Mountain Construction, or RMC for short, which specializes in turning old wooden coasters into modern steel-tracked hybrid coasters. I put 2 and 2 together and thought that RMC Gwazi may be on its way. Sure enough, many YouTubers thought the same. It was super fun watching all the No Limits concept builds that had so many takes on what an RMC Gwazi could be. Most kept the dueling nature of the original, with new features like inversions and extreme airtime moments. I was super excited to see if and when the real thing would be revealed. Sure enough, the day finally came, and I was blown away by what it was. It would be turned into one massive hyper-hybrid coaster, setting records in height, speed, and steepness among hybrids. Of course, stats alone don't make a good coaster, but this was beyond promising. I was starting to think a coaster comparable to the best worldwide was going to be built in my hometown. I followed YouTube speculation, construction updates, and concept POVs incessantly, and I was beginning to feel the hype. I even visited the park for some construction pictures of my own. All signs were pointing to a spring 2020 opening, and I was getting ready to visit the park on the rumored opening date in late March. We all know what happened in March 2020. The park closed for months due to COVID, and when it reopened, Iron Gwazi did not open with it. The opening date got pushed back to spring 2021, then spring 2022. My hype slowly fizzled out as I wasn't willing to visit any amusement parks for over a year due to the pandemic. I finally got back into coasters in summer 2021 when I visited Islands of Adventure to ride their 2 new coasters, Hagrid's and Velocicoaster. The latter of those was absolutely amazing and quickly soared to my personal favorite coaster above many acclaimed rides like Fury 325 and El Toro. Despite this, when Iron Gwazi opened, I wasn't excited enough to run out and buy a pass for opening day. I waited until this month to finally buy tickets and give it a shot. There should be no surprise when I say this ride is mind-blowingly good. It's extremely comfortable both in its restraints and its glassy smoothness. It's also full of perfectly paced, unique elements that all have their own purpose. And most importantly, it's absurdly intense. While in my opinion the copious ejector airtime is this ride's biggest feature, it has plenty of moments with strong floater airtime, laterals, and positives. This is definitely a back row ride if you love that intensity, but it's honestly so forceful that the milder but still insane experience further up on the train may be more palatable, especially on re-rides. What better way is there to show how great this coaster is than an element-by-element analysis? Let's start from the very beginning. The coaster lacks the pre-drop section that some RMCs have, but you get yanked over that tiny drop before the lift hill if you're in the back. The lift hill provides great views of other coasters in the park, and slows down a little bit at the very top, providing a fun moment of suspense. Then comes the drop, which is masterfully done. It's over 200 feet tall and beyond vertical at 91 degrees. It feels so much longer than it actually is, and it carries insane floater airtime the entire time. After passing through the structure, you move into a massive outer banked hill, which is still fun despite not being one of the stronger airtime moments here. You get a few hand chopper moments passing under the structure again on the way to this ride's signature element, the death roll. This roll is absolutely insane. Unlike your standard 0G roll, it provides crazy laterals as it suddenly pulls you to the side. I prefer this to Velocicoaster's marquee Mosasaurus roll. While that was also an awesome moment due to its tightness, speed, and positioning right above the water, the forces weren't quite as unique and intense. Next comes the cutback, a turn banked so steeply it counts as an inversion. Again, not one of the most intense moments, but it's still a fun and unique way to do a turnaround. Next up is the first wave turn, a hill that banks 90 degrees at its apex to provide the crazy sensation of sideways ejector airtime. This leads straight into a strong ejector hill, followed immediately by another wave turn, this one even stronger than the first. The coaster doesn't let up as it moves into its 0G stall. While I think this element could have been longer to provide a bit of hang time like the one on Velocicoaster, it's still a super fun inclusion. After this comes the finale, which I find to be super underrated. It's a painfully intense series of ejector hills, providing quite possibly the strongest airtime I have ever experienced. One hill, straight into a turnaround, straight into two more back-to-back hills, another turnaround, and a final hill. Every one of these hills hits so damn hard. After this climactic ending, the coaster slams into the brakes. It definitely has enough speed for even more, which some may see as a shame. However, I think if the ride was too much longer, it could have become too intense for its own good. Despite the somewhat short length of about 50 seconds from drop to brakes, the ride feels like a complete experience. This ride is absolutely superb and lived up to my wildest expectations. It's a tough decision whether to place this or Velocicoaster as my number one favorite coaster, and I don't think I'm going to make that decision until I return to Islands of Adventure this month. Iron Gwazi makes Busch Gardens Tampa's already great coaster lineup world class. Along with Velocicoaster, this ride makes Florida one of the best states for roller coasters. We may not have much, but at least we have that. I hope to try even more RMCs in the future. The only one I've ridden is Twisted Cyclone at Six Flags Over Georgia, which was also really fun, but not quite at Iron Gwazi's level. Iron Gwazi is without a doubt a 10 out of 10 ride.